Muses of Mythology is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Rhineverse as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes.
I think Revenge of the Sith, absolute peak of fucking Star Wars. Episode 3 is the best Star Wars movie.
I think you're wrong on that one, factually, but you can be wrong and I still love you.
Well, you think Last Jedi is the best one, so.
No, Last Jedi is my favorite one. The best one is Revenge of the Sith.
That's what I said! That's episode 3, Darian!
Oh, I'm sorry. The Empire Strikes... No, I'm so sorry. I meant The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back is the best one.
Ooh, snap.
Welcome to Muses of Mythology, a podcast where we explore how ancient myths become modern pop culture. This week, we continue our journey through Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians with Story 49, Theseus. I'm your co-host and podcasting muse, Darian Smart. Joining me is my co-host and brother, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? I am the muse of Gary Stew. If you don't know what a Gary Stew is, it is the characters that can do no wrong but always solve the problem in minutes. Kirito from Sword Art Online.
I think we just call them male protagonists.
Not all of them. I mean, come on.
No. Okay, this is true. I think we need to really reflect on this. Let's go see what's playing in the theater to think about this.
I need to go muse about.
I need to go muse about! Oh, that's so good.
Let's go muse about in the garden.
Muse about, we're in a garden, DJ. Hi, everybody. We are currently deciding on the new name for this bit. We decided to have no name, and then I started recording, and then DJ said that. So I'm keeping it in because you deserve to be in on this if you listen to this segment. And I know not everybody does, but you do. And that's why you get to hear the behind-the-scenes secrets. You also get to hear about what organization we're donating to this month.
Every month we donate $1 for every Patreon to an organization trying to do net good in the world of our choice. This month
in the world of our choice?
In the world of our choice.
The world we pick.
The world we pick.
Hey, Venus, this is your month.
The world we choose to pick and make.
It's the world of our choosing. Wow.
This month we have 7 Patreons, so we're actually going to give another $20 of our own cash to increase the donation amount.
I think we have brought a lot of amazing energy to this one this year because it is the holiday season and you just got to bring a little bit extra. So this month we are donating to Child's Play. This is an organization founded by Penny Arcade Comics that originally donated video games and board games to the Seattle Children's Hospital. They've since expanded to include several children's hospitals throughout the United States and Canada, including St. Luke's Children's Hospital here where we're located in Boise, Idaho. In addition to be able to donate money directly, each of the hospitals have a wish list in which you can select items and have it shipped directly to the hospital. That's what we decided to do this month.
This month we have donated Star Trek Beyond the Stars.
That's not what it's called, all right.
Beyond the stars, beyond the trek.
It's part of the world of our creation. Okay, no, I'm taking it back. So this month we donated a DVD copy of Star Trek Beyond. The book.
I was close. It's two words off. I added them.
You did. The Going to Bed book by Sandra Boynton. A rattle ring toy, and Spider-Man Far From Home on DVD.
Classic.
This is a different kind of donation than we usually do, but...
It's the holiday season, and we're trying to be a little more like Scrooge at the end of the story.
Yeah. And now back to the show. All right, DJ, we are continuing our journey through the Labyrinth. And once again, we are not alone.
No, we are not.
No, we've picked some excellent guides to join us.
Who's joining? Who is this? Hello? Anyone there?
This is not an ASMR podcast. Please step away from the mic.
All right. Well, joining us this week is the British guy that gave everybody a mini existential crisis last time he was here. It is Owen from Through the Mist. Hello, Owen.
Hello!
How are you today, Owen?
It's going all right. It's going well. Pumped. I don't know why I'm quite this pumped, but I'm pumped.
Do you want to talk a little bit about why? Because we opened the floodgates. We're like, hey, here are the topics. What do you want? And you picked Theseus, which honestly, I'll admit, I was surprised. I thought you would pick like Daedalus or honestly Hephaestus, something a little bit more mechanical. So, Owen, I'll admit, like, I think I've learned a lot about you in just, you're like, hey, I want to do Theseus. Do you want to explore a little bit about, like, what speaks to you about Theseus, why you wanted to join us for this episode before we get into it?
I knew one reference. Out of the others, I had no idea. I knew a reference for this one. That was it. I was like, I can add something.
You can bring something to the table. I love it. Fantastic. Okay. Well, let's start. Owen, would you like to tell us a little bit about what is Theseus's deal in the Percy Jackson series specifically?
In Pojo, Theseus is a ghost. He talks to Nico a bit.
Mm-hmm.
About it.
Yeah.
Basic of rundown.
That's his big thing. In Titan's Curse, Dionysus mentions that he hates all heroes because Theseus abandoned Ariadne. So that's a big thing. Also, speaking of Titan's Curse, we mistakenly said many times that Percy doesn't say Ariadne's name at the end of Titan's Curse. That's wrong. He does acknowledge that this is Ariadne. Thank you to Charlie for pointing that out. I appreciate it. This is what happens when we don't have the book. But also, I think it does say that I was so convinced that I don't think he does. So
it says something.
It says something.
Certainly says something.
Something
say what
something.
it is, bud.
The name wasn't said enough.
Thank you, Owen. It wasn't said enough, especially in this one. But we already talked about Ariadne. This is Theseus's episode. I have a quick question. Is Nico in the underworld when he summons Theseus, or is he somewhere else?
The ranch.
No. Okay. Is he at the ranch?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think so. Because we
No, because Percy is peering in through another call when he summons Theseus. So he's not. We don't know where he's at, but he's. I don't know. He's probably in the maze. He's in a forest location. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because this is this is the second call, and it's where scary shit starts to happen.
Yeah.
Because Theseus is summoned, and Nico. Okay, here's the thing I want to talk about briefly on this one because it makes no sense to me. He's summoned. In part, Nico asks him about navigating the maze. But the ghost is like, you don't need to worry about that. I'll guide you through. Ask him about trading a soul for a soul. Whether or not that actually works. And Theseus confirms that it does.
But it has to be a soul who has avoided death.
Yeah, what makes Theseus the expert on this topic so much so that he is the one that gets summoned?
I don't know, Darian. What makes Theseus the expert on that topic?
Intriguing.
No, this isn't a trick. It's not a joke. Okay. I know we're gonna get more. So here's the
You're the one who did research for this episode.
Okay, I did. That's not what I meant. Okay. So first of all, I want to talk about how Theseus appears. Perseus God, why did I say Perseus? Wow, weird. I'm so sorry. That's not the vibe I want to bring today.
I mean, it's his full name. Full name
it
alert.
Is, and except it makes me very uncomfortable. So when Percy sees the ghost, he's like, no way, I thought. This couldn't be the Theseus. He was just a kid. I'd grown up hearing stories about him fighting the Minotaur and stuff, but I always pictured him as a huge buff guy. The ghost I was looking at wasn't strong or tall, and he wasn't any older than I was. So that's another thing we're going to have to circle back on. And Owen, I'm glad you're here to discuss how being a ghost works in the Percy Jackson universe, just how it all works.
We've already done that.
Right. But we need to come back to it because Percy's 14, and he's looking at Theseus like, this guy's not much older than I was. And I'm going to tell you all that Theseus lived a lot longer than his teen years. Like, so much longer.
Yeah, but this is Rick trying to nail down Greek heroes did not live long.
Yeah.
To his young adult audience.
Anyway, so then Nico's like, how do I retrieve my sister? And Theseus is like, don't try it. It's madness. My stepfather died. He threw himself into the sea because he thought I was dead in the labyrinth. I wanted to bring him back, but I could not.
That's why he knows.
Right. I think he says that a soul for a soul. Is it true? I must say yes. But he's like, I tried, but he doesn't say he tried. He just says, I wanted to bring him back, but I couldn't.
But he asked a question.
He does.
He might have asked, hey, he's like, hey, is there any way I can? Like if you get somebody who avoided death, I guess. I don't know.
Actually, that works. And then here's my theory. I think the only reason that it's Theseus is one, because it's the Labyrinth book. And
Yes,
two,
yes.
so we get this line about
Do I recognize you?
yes, when he's like when the ghost is talking.
What, the Minos?
Minos, who we don't know is Minos, and we the reader don't know. The Nikos goes hiss, my lord, the soul exchange. Ask about that. Theseus scowled. That voice. I know that voice. No, you don't, fool. Answer the Lord's question and nothing more. I know you.
Yeah.
I think that's the. No, you don't. Fuck off. Shut up.
Shut the fuck up. Hey, Nico, ask her. Shut the fuck up. Sidebar. Hey, Theseus, can I talk to you for a second? Shut the fuck up.
And that's my theory on why it's Theseus, even though, as we'll get into in his myths, I don't think he's qualified to answer Nico's question here. But we do need to have something for the reader to be able to consider the mystery of who the ghost is and why this is maybe bad that Nico's talking to this ghost in particular. And you got to bring in Theseus. I recognize you. Why do I know you?
Yeah.
Start giving the clues.
Exactly. And I will applaud as like a writing mechanic. I like a mystery that your readers could potentially solve. Or even if they don't solve it, once they know the answer, when they go back and read it, they do recognize, yep, the clues are there. This didn't just get pulled out of thin air. I love that. Because I'm going to tell you all right now, Theseus is not qualified to answer this question whatsoever. Let's get into the lore.
Let's find out why!
So, let's find out why. So here's a thing I've learned and I'm actually a little bummed out about. I think calling Theseus the Minotaur guy is like really doing him a disservice, actually.
Yeah, but it's his most famous story.
And it's wild because he actually did tons of more stuff that's like maybe a little bit more impressive.
Yeah, but the Minotaur is scarier.
It's actually not.
You don't know that. Not to everybody.
I do. It is. Okay. Anybody got anything about Theseus they want to talk about? Because here's the thing, though. Dear listener, dear wonderful listener, I think the best thing for you to do, if you haven't, is maybe honestly grab a copy of Edith Hamilton's Mythology and just read the Theseus section. It's actually not very long because she's so good at like concisely telling these stories and folding them down from all the various pieces. But I don't think it'll be fun for us to just sit here and me to tell you Theseus's whole life, right, in detail. I think I can give some bullet points and we can dive into some stuff. But it's like from before he was born, it's one thing after constant, like go, big things all the time. So before I just go in, DJ Owen, do y'all have anything about Theseus non-Minotaur related?
Not at all.
No, nothing from DJ Owen. Besides the thing I know you want to reference, like you can decide when it's time to bring that to the table, and if you don't think it's time yet, that's cool. You got to follow your gut on that one.
No, I think because I feel like even if the only things I know are just the beats we're going to hit, so
Yeah. Okay. So I started like originally in my notes, I was like, I'll just bullet point and then I'll list off the bullet points and y'all can tell me what sounds interesting. But then I had to explain to myself the bullet points so I wouldn't forget. So I just have, this is maybe the longest notes I've made, save for the Apollo notes that I did cut into 2 different documents when I scooped out all of Apollo's like relationship stuff. Like Theseus has been the longest so far. So that's that. I think we should start with, let's say, his origin.
You got to start with the origin story.
You got to start with the origin story. So before he was born, you've got Aegeus, who's the king of Athens, and he doesn't have an heir. And that sounds like a personal problem, but of course he goes to the oracle and be like, what do I do? And you think the answer was like, well, find someone with a uterus and just hook up with them. But that's not what the oracle tells him. The oracle says, do not loosen the bulging mouth of the wineskin until you have reached the height of Athens, lest you die of grief. And both myself and Aegeus are like, I don't know what that means.
Is the bulging mouth of the wineskin supposed to be an allegory for a vagina?
Actually, yes, kind of, because...
Hey man, don't fuck until you become king of Athens.
Well, he's already king of Athens.
Oh.
That's why he needs an heir. But
No. He's got to climb the highest mountain in Athens and do it up there.
You'd think. But his buddy, Pythias, is like, and he's the king of Tozen, and he's like, oh, I got it. So he gets Aegeus drunk and then sends his daughter, Athrea, to him. Now, no one has bothered to know how Athrea felt about this. You get it. So later when Aegeus is passed out, because apparently that's just a thing that happens, Athrea gets a dream message from Athena and directs her to go to another island where she runs into Poseidon. You get it.
Hell yeah.
So rather than a Hercules situation, right, where we talked about where the mother of Hercules had 2 twin sons from different fathers, the mortal husband and then Zeus.
Yeah.
This story is meant to indicate that in the classical myth, Theseus is both the son of Aegeus and Poseidon, right? So he gets that demigod, the divinity, right, those things.
Yeah.
But he is also the legitimate heir to the king of Athens.
Huh.
Athrea is now pregnant, right? And King Aegeus is like, psyched, here's my heir. I'm going to raise him to be the best king. I'm going to teach him all of Athenian culture. He's going to grow up to be like, that's a joke. He doesn't actually do that. He leaves.
Peace out.
But he does bury some sandals and his sword underneath a boulder and tells Athrea, when the child is a man who can move the boulder and retrieve his items, then he is a worthy heir. And then he can come to Athens and claim his birthright. And then he leaves Athrea to raise the child to become an heir worthy of this. So she just does all the work and the labor, and that's fine. We're just going to move past this.
Standard practice.
Standard practice. Theseus does grow up, is able to move the boulder, and that's when Athrea tells him of his true birth. And she's like, cool, well, here, you can take a ship and go to Athens. And he's like, nah. That's too easy. Going by boat? Nah. I'm going to go by land because that's the harder journey. And I need to speed run becoming a hero.
Okay.
And honestly, I'm into it. Actually, I'm into the vibes. Yeah, usually I'm like, don't be stupid, but I'm actually kind of into it. So then he just goes to Athens, and then he gets to do 6 labors. Is what they're called. And really, it's just he runs into a bunch of assholes on his journey, like a bunch of bandits that terrorize travelers, and just kills them along the way.
Just kills them?
They were all going to kill him, because that's what they do. They kill travelers. So they make the roads from this island to Athens. It's very dangerous. One of them is our old buddy, Krusty, the mattress salesman, you may recall. He takes care of him.
Yep.
And then there are others.
Procrusteus.
We could get into it if we want, but there's so much more. But essentially, Theseus cleans up the mean streets and does arrive with a really positive reputation when he rolls up to Athens.
Could build that rep, and he
built that rep, got those points. So he shows up and he is welcomed by the king. Obviously, this great hero. He's going to get a warm welcome. Hospitality in Greece, very important. So it's Aegeus. Also, who's hanging out at the castle? Well, palace, whatever. Hey, it's Medea. We know Medea.
Hey, yeah, we do.
The Golden Fleece story. So she's here now because after what happened with Jason, right? Well, she's not exactly tight over there. So she's over here now in Athens, vibing with the king. Now, the king doesn't know who Theseus is, and Theseus doesn't reveal himself immediately. But Medea knows who he is because she is the first and foremost witchy woman. So, of course. And she's like, hey, I don't need the sun coming up here and like meddling with my plan to have like influence over the king. So I got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
As you do. So she convinces Aegeus to send this hero on a quest to bring them the Marathonian bull, who we have discussed in the past. This is just the super, super beautiful bull that Poseidon gave to Minos, and then Minos did not sacrifice.
Yeah.
So Pasiphae got involved.
So it's the bull that did the deed.
It's the bull that did the deed. Yep. Really nice bull.
Daddy bull.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, 100% daddy bull.
Yes. And this is a fucking bold move because you may recall that at this time, Crete is over here. Like every 7 years, I'm going to need Athens to send us like 14 of its best youths so we can feed them to the Minotaur.
Yeah.
Who is the son of this daddy bull. And Theseus rolls up, and he does, in fact, get the bull. And
Okay.
Nice.
they sacrifice it, as you do. And Medea's like, well,
As you
guess I'm gonna-
should.
as you should. As
they-
someone
as they
was
should
supposed
have.
to.
Yeah,
Yes.
as it was supposed to
You
happen.
rectified this mistake. There's a lot of themes going on here, rectifying the mistake of Minos and such. So Medea's like, well, time to cut out the middleman. So she just hands Theseus a poisoned wine glass. It's like, all right, we really should have just done this in the first place. But at the very last second, Aegeus recognizes those sweet kicks that Theseus has been sporting. Those are his sandals, which can only mean one thing. So he knocks the wine glass out of Theseus's hand and is like, my son!
They're my kicks.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get those shoes from, boy?
He's like, well, I found him under a boulder.
Dude, are
He's like,
those
oh my
the
God.
Jordan fucking
The Air Hercs?
yeah, are those Air Hercs Athenian edition, bro? Those are fucking kicking, bud.
They only made like 100 of those, and one of them was mine. And Theseus is like, Daddy. And Medea gets out of town faster than Aegeus did when he found out Aretha was pregnant. And then she goes to Asia. We don't need to follow that. That's just what every single source says. She went to
She
Asia.
just goes to, I wonder if
Just
there
goes
are
to
like
Asia.
stories of a witch from another land that just like chills in Asia and is fucking doing maniacal things over there.
I don't know, but one day we will dive into this.
Eventually.
That day cannot be today. Theseus has so much going on.
Asia just means disappears, though.
Kind of, yeah. It's like basically they went away.
To
far
the unknown.
away. To
Yeah.
the unknown. Into the unknown.
Into the unknown.
Fabulous. So at this point in time, we get the whole Labyrinth and the Minotaur thing, which we don't need to get into. We've all done
Been
this
there, done that.
before. Been there, done that. You know it. I love the fact that Theseus has already dealt with the original problem of the bull, so now he does it again. There's a lot of themes going on. Oh, doubling back to our last episode, several sources I found did say that once Theseus killed the Minotaur, it was all the tributes that went back with him on the ship. So all the young Athenians who'd been sent on that particular
Makes sense.
sacrifice.
Makes sense.
He got them all out. So top tier hero Theseus does abandon Ariadne. Let's not forget it.
Yeah.
Important to remember for me. Anyway, been there, done that. So he's supposed to, this is important too. He's supposed to change the sails on the ship from black to white as he gets home to let his father know, Daddy, I survived.
Yeah.
He fails to do
Yo,
this.
big dad.
He either forgets or is grieving over Ariadne, whatever version of the story, like whatever, whether or not we've decided to like make Theseus out to be an asshole or a victim.
He just doesn't
of
have the
losing
right color sails. I mean, he just doesn't have
Really,
them.
sails are massive. Why are you packing these? So, seeing the black sails in the distance, Aegeus is heartbroken and he throws himself off the cliff into the sea. Thus, the sea has gained its name it still has today, the Aegean Sea.
Nice.
Anyway, Theseus is now
Nice.
king of Athens. Really, the sails thing is wild because he definitely could have been like, well, you'll know I'm alive when I get off the ship.
Yeah.
But we needed to, story-wise, we needed to kill the king so Theseus can be king.
Yeah.
Just get Medea to kill the king. So much better.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
and then
don't
the
know.
tragedy. There is tragedy because he comes back successful, a hero, but still loses his father because of a mistake, an easy mistake. That's classic Greek hero bullshit, right? There will always be a mistake that the hero really could have prevented that causes their tragedy because that's what makes them, at their core, human. The human error, human folly. Anyway, so he's king now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read this passage from Edith Hamilton because here's the thing that Theseus does that makes him truly, I would argue, the Athenian hero. Not just the heroic stuff, but this next part. So Theseus became king of Athens, a most wise and disinterested king. He declared to the people that he did not wish to rule over them. He wanted a people's government where all would be equal. He resigned his royal power and organized a commonwealth, building a council hall where the citizens should gather to vote. The only office he kept for himself was that of commander-in-chief. Thus, Athens became, of all of Earth's cities, the happiest and most prosperous, the only true home of liberty, the one place in the world where the people governed themselves.
So Theseus invented democracy, yeah?
Basically. Or at least the
Hell
republic. Yeah.
Hell
Right, no,
yeah.
so Rome did republic, Theseus democracy. So this is what makes, when we talk about Theseus being like the hero of Athens, I would argue that this is the thing that specifically is why. Not that he did the heroic shit, but that he is a founder of what made Athens, what made it unique among Thebes and Sparta and literally maybe the only two cities of the city-states of Greece I can name. There are so many others, but those are the only two that get mentioned all the time in the myths, so they're the only two I can mention.
Athens and
Ithaca.
Sparta were the biggest.
Glaucus, Minos, Crete.
Olympia was a place.
Was a place, okay.
Olympia was a fucking place. That's where they held the Olympics.
No, you're right. You're totally right. I think so. So now Theseus is king. He's, as you said, Owen, invented democracy. Athens is this. In Athens's, I mean, what a side note, maybe we just briefly talk about what Athenian democracy did look like. This whole idea that everyone is like, oh, equal, everyone can vote.
No.
Men.
You all know that's not really the truth, right? Like we're all
It's
aware
men
that's not...
with high power. It's the early English government. It's fine.
It's fucking the early American government. Like you, free
Yeah,
man.
but there's still a commander in chief. We still got I feel like Theseus was probably more of a royal family head of state than a president head of state.
No, totally. I mean, the president of the U.S. is also commander in chief.
Yeah, but it can change. Where I think Theseus probably went, nah, mate, it's me forever.
Oh no, you're not going to like vote a new like leader in, but but that idea. But it is the idea that like only wealthy free men landowners got to vote. So it's not even like all the dudes in Athens, and it certainly wasn't the women of Athens.
Ridiculous.
So that was Athens. I want to remind everybody, mostly because if you grew up in these kind of school systems where when you get to talking about like Athens or ancient Greek or even like philosophy and stuff, the Athenian philosophers, this thing is held up as the pinnacle of like they founded the founding fathers and inspired the Renaissance thinkers and Plato and Socrates and Aristotle. And I'm just like, that's all well and good. I do need you to remember that they hated women. So,
like absolutely every civilization pretty much back in that time.
Absolutely every civilization. And this
except Sparta.
Really
Sparta loved women.
No, Sparta was all, because it's like, well, yeah, women are the ones that give birth and we kind of need like warriors. So like, women are tough. So Athens. Now, so that's it. So Theseus has cleaned up the mean streets, defeated the Minotaur, ended this like reign of terror that Crete has been putting over Athens, is ruler of Athens, and invented democracy. But he's not done yet. Okay, let me think. What's the best way to do this? May I share with you the anime Bows to Bros fight with homoerotic subtext?
Westlife. Sorry.
So, Theseus did a lot of legitimately solid stuff. Yeah. He also did a lot of super cringy things.
Yeah.
One thing that we should have mentioned, like at the top, one time he did kidnap Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, and through her, she gave birth to his son Hippolytus, who we actually talked about in our Hunters episode. He was one of the guys that was like, very ace arrow, followed Artemis, rejected all romance. That guy.
Yeah.
Another kind of shitty thing he does, which maybe we can say like Theseus, who's like this pretty upstanding dude, did have maybe we'll call him a bad influence best friend.
Yeah.
This guy is Pirithous. All right, so he's king of Lapiths and was Theseus' BFF. Now here's
Lapis
how
lazuli.
they met. Lapis lazuli, yes. Well, no, Lapithus. So here's the thing. So here's how they met. Pirithous had heard that Theseus was like top tier A+ golden boy, never fails, always on the grind. So he's like, he steals his cattle, lets it run loose, so Theseus has to come get it, and then they get into a fight. And during the fight, they are just so. But as the two faced each other, Pirithous, impulsive as ever, suddenly forgot everything in his admiration of the other. He held out his hand to him and cried, "I will submit to any penalty you impose. You be the judge." Theseus, delighted at the warm-hearted action, answered, "All I want for you is to be my friend and brother in arms." And they took a solemn oath of friendship. Other ones I read said they were just so taken by the courage and power and beauty of the other. So it's very anime-esque. Superhero genre, they fight and then they become friends.
Yeah.
I will once again refer to the very homoerotic subtext of this. because there are some myths that say that Theseus just really wanted to spend all of his time with Perithous. And
You're not sure it was inside Perithous?
And listen, I'm not pulling threads because this is a very, as I said, very common trope. It was actually, I would argue, a trope even at this point for mythology of this era, because one of the very, very earliest elements of this is the story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, who become friends through this exact same thing. And that one is full on. They were lovers. So I'm not just like pulling threads out of nowhere. That's a key element of this whole we fight, but then we gain respect and admiration for each other during the fight. And now we are inseparable.
Not that sort of wrestling.
Yeah. But
I would compare it to Goku and Vegeta.
You could compare it to Goku and Vegeta.
I would.
I'm comparing it to Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Here's the thing. For many reasons.
Gilgamesh and Gargamel.
I mean, there is at one point in time where Theseus founded a cult for Aphrodite of all people. So that's just an interesting fact about Theseus.
I mean, he's probably wanted something at the time.
So the thing about Perithous is that this dude is an idiot. I'm pretty sure. He throws when he gets married, he invites like all the centaurs to come to his wedding. I'm not really sure why. Some of it says that maybe he was a descendant of
Is this the wedding that the centaurs stole from?
Yeah.
Stole people. They stole
this
everyone.
This is that wedding, Owen. This is that wedding. They like make off with all the women and try to make off with the bride. Here's the thing, though. It's a good, but Theseus was at the wedding because, of course, he was, and it's a good thing too because that's why the centaurs weren't able to get away.
Were these weren't the horned lot. These were the wild lot, wasn't it? Yeah, these were the wild lot.
Things break real bad.
Yeah. These are not the party ponies. These are, in fact, the ones that we see in.
No, these are the party ponies.
No, these are the party ponies.
They're the blood of Olympus
the ones
centaurs that are like evil jackasses.
Nah, the blood of Olympus, they're the ones that were made when Zeus squirted over Crete.
No!
The party ponies just like to have a good time and steal everyone.
Yeah, so Theseus takes care of that problem. He kills them. There's a lot of art that depicts Theseus slaying centaurs, especially the biggest and greatest, so yay for Theseus. Another time passes that this bride has died, because why the fuck not? Who cares? And Theseus and Perithous are like, hey, we're both like sons of Poseidon. This is the first time I'm hearing that Perithous is a son of Poseidon. Okay. We should marry daughters of Zeus. Obviously.
Just to piss Zeus off a little bit.
Well, no, because they're like worthy of it, right? If we're so great, these should be our brides. So first of all, they're like, okay, Theseus, who are you going to marry? Well, I want to marry Helen. So they go kidnap Helen, who at this time is 13 years old. I want you to know this is before the Iliad, before the Odyssey, before Troy. So they're going to kidnap Helen.
It's also ancient Greek,
Helen.
you know.
Well, they're going to wait till she's old enough to marry. So she's 13.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, Perithous, who do you want to marry? What daughter of Zeus for you? And he's like, I want the most heavily guarded one. I want Persephone. You know, queen of the underworld.
You know, that Persephone.
And I don't use this term. Like these jackasses.
Oh, this is where he found out. This is why Theseus knows things.
Yes, that's actually what I was going to say. I think this might be it. So they go to the underworld. And there's a couple different versions of this. One where Hades is there and welcome, you made it. Come take a seat on these thrones. And then when they sit down, they literally cannot get up again. Like there's some sort of like underworld magic. Their limbs become too heavy and they are trapped there. Another one is that Theseus sits on a rock while they're traveling through the underworld, and then he can't get back up. And then he hears Perithous screaming, and he tries to go help him because he is being ripped apart by the Furies.
Oh, fuck.
But he can't because he physically can't move. And so he is trapped there for who knows how long. During this time, Helen is rescued. And good. I'm glad. And then other things will happen to Helen. You know that one. We'll get to her.
Yeah.
Eventually. So how does Theseus get out of the underworld? His good buddy Hercules shows up.
Hell yeah.
Rock on.
Yeah, Hercules shows up and like, because Hercules has a labor where he has to go into the underworld anyway. So while he's down there, he just like, hey Theseus, where have you been? So he picks him up. And they just leave. They try to get Perithous. And Hades is like, no, because that was the idiot who wanted to kidnap my wife.
Yeah.
So they cannot rescue him, whether or not it's the Furies or whether they're both on the thrones. Hades doesn't let that one go. But Theseus gets the fuck out of there. We already talked about what happens to Hippolytus with the whole Aphrodite's not super jazzed about his whole like not wanting romance thing, so she curses his stepmother to fall in love with him, and then all this stuff. There's a whole thing. We've discussed it already. Already getting it. I don't want to retread too much. Did want to underline what I mentioned earlier. Theseus had a cult for Aphrodite, so it like makes it all the more like, oh no, that Hippolytus like rejected entirely. And I do interpret Hippolytus as like ace arrow icon.
Is it Hippolytus or Hippolytus?
Maybe it's Hippolytus. I feel like that's just the inflection because it's from Hippolyta.
Maybe.
So probably I say Hippolytus. I don't know why, but yeah.
It's probably just how you read it first.
Yeah. So I had a thread. Anyway, so it's like, oh yeah, ace arrow, love it. It's also just a lot of misogyny in his whole deal of just hating women in general.
Uh-huh.
We also can't forget that. Oh, here's a fun fact. Do you know who that woman was? The stepmother from that story, the one that Theseus was married to at the time?
No.
Okay, so this is Phaedra of the Hippolytus story. She's Ariadne's sister.
Ah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
I didn't even know Ariadne had a sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
much
but
I knew,
Pasiphae and Minos had several children, right?
Uh-huh.
So Ariadne, and she had some sisters.
Elder or younger sister?
Younger.
Mm.
I think Ariadne's the oldest, if I'm interpreting correctly. Yeah, I don't know how we get to Theseus marrying Phaedra. One story I was reading says that both Ariadne and Phaedra went with Theseus when he fled from Crete after killing the Minotaur, but most of them say it was just Ariadne. But she is her sister, and I'm like, that's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Theseus, what the fuck? Anyway, things don't go well for anybody in that myth. So that's it. There are other things that Theseus did. But I want to talk about 3 things that I think make Theseus, like, I don't know. I don't want to call him a solid dude because he does some shady shit, but also
He's
It leveled him
he's
up.
an ancient hero. Like, not all of them are going to be perfect. In fact,
and they're
none of
not.
them are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, no one's perfect. I'm not looking for perfection, but it's like, well, I don't know if this makes up for these things you did that I'm like, hate it then, hate it now. But there were
I
things
don't
I
think
didn't
at the time
know.
you would have hated it. If you were raised in ancient Greece, you would have read these stories and been like, yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah, but I'm not. It's 2020.
You're
and
not.
It's
You're right. I'm
2022,
just
and I can have
saying.
an opinion I want.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I'm
it's
just
2022. It's been 2022.
Don't have to tell me. Yep.
Two.
Yep. It's the 2020s. Okay. But here are some things that I had never or didn't register before. So once Theseus is king, there is something called the Seven's War on Thebes, where it's basically 7 Greek heroes who I'd honestly never heard of before try to siege Thebes to reinstate Oedipus' son as king.
Huh.
This doesn't go well for them.
There's too many names right now, and I'm very struggling to keep up.
No, and I'm not going to name the 7 because we can't add that. But what happens? Things go well, and most of them die. But Thebes refuses to allow the survivors to bury their dead. And so they go to Athens, they go to Theseus, and they tell him what's up. And Theseus is like, nah, that's not cool. So Theseus takes the armies of Athens to Thebes and basically conquers the city and forces them to allow the survivors to give their dead brethren burial rites. And then once they do, he just leaves.
Peace out.
Because he's not there to conquer the city. He's not part of whatever this fight is that they're having with Thebes. But he is like, hey, that's unjust. Like, it doesn't matter anything else. You allow your enemies to bury their dead. Like, that is what is right.
Them the rules.
That's the rules. Burial. And we were going to talk about this. I don't know why Thebes thought they wanted a bunch of, like, angry ghosts running around because they didn't get burial rights. But okay, Thebes. Speaking of Oedipus, you know Oedipus. We all know Oedipus.
No, we don't.
Do I have to say who Oedipus is here?
Oh,
for
we know
anyone?
who Oedipus is. Are you fucking kidding me?
I mean,
So
there's too many names.
Do you not know who Oedipus is?
I know the name.
The mother
Let's
complex?
follow the
The guy who fucked his mom? That guy?
Okay, cool. That's all I need.
Yep.
yeah, that guy. So after this has all happened, Oedipus is blind because he blinds himself when he realizes, wandering alone. And he ended up coming to Athens at some point in time, and Theseus welcomes him in. He takes him in, and he's with Oedipus when he dies. right? He is providing this old man who has gone through so much comfort. And once Oedipus has died, Theseus makes sure that his daughters are returned home safely. And then the
Cool.
one more thing, right? And then the one more thing is, speaking of Hercules, right? So when we talked about this, I think briefly, but I want to touch back on it because I do think it is really interesting. After Hercules is struck with madness by Hera and kills his whole family, everyone's like, I'm out. I'm distancing myself from, like, I can't be a part of this guy. Like, what the hell? And Hercules is in such pain and agony, he's going to take his own life. And Theseus is the only one who stands beside him and, like, comes to him and is like, hey, no, don't do that. That's not the answer to this. You've been through a lot, but it's going to be okay. And he brings him to Athens to stay in his palace until, like, Hercules is, like, recovering. And I think, if I remember correctly, we talked about Theseus is the one that's like, hey, you need to go to the Oracle of Delphi and ask what you need to do to make amends for what has happened.
Yeah.
And so you get this with looking at, and I covered a lot of Theseus. There's so much more. I mentioned to draw it there. When we talk about, like, we talked about this, like, Theseus is the hero of Athens. And Athens was this, like I said, pinnacle of Greek culture, this pinnacle of this thing. And why, what made him? And I think by examining Theseus and his story, you very clearly see what were the values of this culture, what made him this, like, heroic hero king. Owen, I'm glad you're here. You can tell me if this is incorrect. I'm seeing, like, the Athenians viewed Theseus, who may or may not have existed at all, right?
Yeah, as with all.
Yeah, as with all of them, maybe there was a king, right? Because all these stories, they're about, like, oh, this is why we have democracy. It's because of King Theseus. Like, this was the
Yeah.
like,
They're all explaining reasons for the world being the way it is.
Yeah. So if there was,
or they're the classic trade route Chinese whispers.
Yeah. So and you can tell me if this is an incorrect comparison from reading this and, like, looking, like, how the Athenians viewed Theseus and the stories they told about him. It reminded me a lot of King Arthur and the way that was viewed in, maybe not now in the UK, but, like, the British, like, this was our king. This is the guy. When we were the best is when he was in charge.
Well, not necessarily that way, but he is the king. Like, no matter what, Arthur is the king. Mm-hmm. No matter when you are, where you are, he's the king of whatever it was called back then.
Yeah.
The king of England. Like, that's what he is. Forever and forever. It's not because of that.
The once and future king, yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's a bit like that, but not in the same sense of this is when we were our best. I don't think. Maybe not. It's because that's more of a. I don't even know which Arthur it's based off or when it's.
Yeah, because there was, like, a guy.
I think that's because that's not the. That it's post-Roman.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. But, like, King Alfred was, like, the guy that created what we would consider modern England. Like, the starts of modern England.
Yeah,
with Wessex, Essex, and Mercia and the west of it.
Okay, so Theseus does more like that thing for Athens, where he created the framework that would have been the world that the Athenians were living in. Okay, thank you, Owen.
That's all right.
Should we talk about the Ship of Theseus? I feel like we should.
Have you heard of the Ship of Theseus?
Have you heard?
Do you want to talk about the Ship of Theseus?
You see, there's a ship.
Uh-huh.
A museum.
Is there?
They were I don't know. They restore it every time. And every time they replace, I don't know, like a board or a nail to keep restoring it. At some point, it's going to be all new parts. Is it still the Ship of Theseus? Is it still the same ship that Theseus sailed on?
Yeah, so that's the paradox of the Ship of Theseus.
Yes.
The broom handle. It's the broom. Same with the broom.
The broom?
If you change the handle and the head so many times, is it the same broom? When does it become a new broom? Is this broom 150 years old, or has it been changed so many times that it's actually only 10?
Thing is that it's like it's not the same. Right. It's obviously not. It's used different materials. Those old materials that was actually used to do it.
Okay, but
is gone now.
hypothetically, what if you did? What if
But
you could continue to use those old materials to replace it? As
Then it's
it would
the
have
same
been.
broom.
Is it the same broom? But it's all different.
No, you just said it was the same materials.
Yes, the same materials, but not the same materials. It's the same material that made the broom.
So you're saying it's like the same fucking tree they got it from is the same
Let's
fucking.
say yes.
So it's
Let's
just
say yes.
it's still two different sticks.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 different sticks.
That's and then you replace the head. Say even if you got it from the same bale of hay, that's
Okay.
still a different broom.
Is it?
Yes,
Why?
because it's two different materials. It's two different sets of materials. It's a different. That's like okay, no, that's like saying okay, well, just because here's the old broom, I'm going to make it still from the same tree, same bale of hay, another broom. They're the same broom? No, they're not.
Okay, well,
Do you
hold
want
on.
some more modern examples?
Is it? Wait, hold
That
on. Is it the,
also it's all the same theory, but no, you can keep. You're just going to say, is it the same broom?
no, I was gonna
No,
say
like my
you-
fucking
you
okay.
don't-
Here, modern example. Here's a modern example. My computer. My computer I've
Yes.
had with me since fucking 2016, but I haven't. This is an entirely new computer comparatively to the
But
first
you
one.
called it.
Even
you
though
said
I have
you had
upgraded
it with you since 2016. That's the issue. That's the
yeah,
issue
but
right
I
there, is how
still
you
call
started
it
that
a new
sentence.
computer. I still call it's a new computer compared to the one I had in 2016 because the only thing that's the same in it is the hard drive I use to hold my games. But everything else about it is not the original computer.
But that's the thing. You don't replace it all at once. If you replace it all at once, that's
yeah.
new. But like there are pieces. It's like if you just get rid of like.
Yeah, but it's still not the same computer.
But why
It's not the
isn't it?
same computer. Because
so
the
that's-
pieces
and
are no longer there. And
That's the entire
Ship of
argument.
Theseus-
And dear listener, that is the Ship of Theseus paradox.
Yeah,
it's the
and
ship
it's
he
not
sailed
the
back on
same
from.
ship. It's not the same ship. It is modeled after the same ship. At this point in time, all the wood that he sailed on
We're done.
has
DJ
rotted
go.
away.
No,
It's not
paradox.
done.
But you'd still call it the same thing.
I would.
And that's the end of it.
Yeah, it's
still
now
call it
a
the
replica
same.
of the Ship of Theseus.
Mm.
That's exactly
So
what
anyway-
it is.
Anyway, so the Athenians had this ship that they said was the Ship of Theseus. I couldn't determine whether or not this was a legitimate thing that was there or whether it was like something that they said they did have at one point in time. Like that was something I got hung up on, and then I could not spend a lot of time like digging into to see if there was at some point in time an artifact that Athens had that they said was it or not, or whether this was like literally a thought thing. But I want to talk about it because I mentioned it in WandaVision a couple years back. So, okay. So one last thing I want to mention before we dive into all of our other things. There are some sources that claim Theseus was on the Argonauts, like with Jason. Which literally, does anyone want to tell me why that doesn't work?
Medea.
Yeah, Medea. Thank you, Owen. 10 points. 10 points to Owen.
Woo!
I was just going to do the sons of Zeus and Poseidon at the time probably didn't get along all too well.
I
But
like that one too,
Hercules,
DJ.
you know?
Yeah, I like that one too, DJ. No, yeah, legitimately, like he cannot have been with the Argonauts if Medea was there before he was king. Like that doesn't work.
They just
Yeah.
whoever wrote that version just wanted all the cool people to be in one place, which I get.
Really?
Totally get it.
And I totally get it. Yeah. So
I've got something I want to bring up before we move.
yes, Owen.
What?
So have you heard of this YouTube channel called Overly Sarcastic Productions?
Yeah, I love
I
it.
was so
It's fun.
prepared for you to do a ship.
I straight
Yes,
up
I
thought, I
have
was
on
like,
the thing.
have you heard of the Ship of Theseus?
Oh my god. Yes, I have. I love their work. But I haven't seen their Theseus stuff.
No, so this is a history summarized episode
Uh-huh.
on Minoan Greece.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was watching it because, as you do. And then it
As
got
you do.
towards the end. And it was like, and here's the reasons why the Minotaur story might actually be based off reality.
Tell me more.
Minoa, Greece, island, big, thing. I'm gonna do a summary of a summary, guys. This is gonna be great.
I love it.
So it's an island. They have their iconography is the bull. They do
Yes,
cool
that's a big
parkour tricks
thing for
off
that
the
era
bull.
of Crete. Yep.
Like that is what their ting is. That is their
Yeah.
ting. They love it. And they have a big palace in the middle.
Yep.
of the main island that's so big and it's quite complicated. Unless you live there, you don't really know your way around it. So it's a bit like a labyrinth you can get lost in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the iconography is like the bull and that things are lining up. And as you do as an island nation, you have quite a big naval force and
you got it.
Mini empire. You do it. And that mini empire happened to butt up just about to the edge where Athens lives.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
And so do you know what happens when you live on the edge of an empire? You get raided.
You get raided by the empire. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're like, there's a quick place we can get some resources from. We'll just go raid them quickly. So that happens fairly frequently. And then suddenly...
Honey, I'm going to the raid. Do you want anything?
and then for some unknown reason, or Owen can't remember, one of the two, it all collapses.
It stops.
So it just kind of collapses. So the idea of these bulls and the ships and Athens and the older Athens like falling apart, when these myths are set, there's like the right time period for these myths to be set, and the big mazy labyrinthy like structure of the old palace, all of that kind of tying together is like, oh, that's their memory. That's that's the memory of these events. However, they just didn't have the capability or understanding to put what they found, and they didn't understand it with this story that they had. The two didn't quite line up.
Like in the Crete, on their coins, they would have like literal labyrinth symbolism on their coins from that era too. So that would also contribute to the idea of like a labyrinth associated with. Because we can't do labyrinth. That was super. Thank you, Owen. I'm over here ready to be like, let's talk more about the labyrinth. Like, let's do it again.
Labyrinth is fun.
And I think maybe that's why it's the thing that we know most about Theseus. Because even I think all these things that I was like talking about presenting is also interesting and paints such a interesting, like fascinating character. If you had the
fascinating
choice,
character, just like the coolest story.
If you had a
is
chance
that
to
one.
change a fate.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's like, well, what do we really talk about? I kind of do want to talk about the time he went into a maze and like fought a monster. Like,
Not a maze, a labyrinth, a really dumb fucking
really long
architectural
corridor
thing that people got lost in.
No, you're right, GJ. Thank you for that. You're right. It is a labyrinth. It's not a maze, as we discussed. So yes,
really stupid.
No, Daedalus was just that good. We talked about it.
Ridiculous. Or everybody who went in were just so fucking stupid.
Hence the palace.
And then the palace. I like that more. And Ariadne.
And the long corridors in the palace.
Right.
Paris? Apparently Paris is now full of long corridors.
Oh, and I'm seeing what you've added to the in pop culture section of the ones. And I'm trying to figure out if it's funnier if I make you go first and then do mine, or if I do mine first and then make you do yours. I think it's funnier if you go last. What do you think?
I can go last.
I think it's funnier. Okay, I will. So Theseus has appeared in stuff, Avi. I can't actually think of anything I've engaged with personally that's like, here's Theseus. We talked about that Atlantis show last episode where they just Theseus.
I have watched that show.
You watched that show?
I watched that show when it was coming out.
Did you like it?
I enjoyed it when I was coming out because it came out just after Merlin finished.
Oh.
And it had a very similar vibe at the start.
When I was reading about it, it did feel like, I'm like, this feels like Merlin. Should we watch it and do a remyth episode about the couple episodes?
I can't remember enough about it, but you could, yeah. Yeah, why not?
Okay, cool.
Why not?
Oh, awesome. Hey, okay. So he's not even in that. It's some dude named Jason from the future. So, is Jason's dad from Atlantis? Do you remember? That's what Quinn said.
I remember almost betting on that from the start.
Uh-huh.
I can never remember them coming back to the storyline about him being from a different. I thought it was more like a different dimension. I'm going to be honest.
Uh-huh. I mean, this show it only got 2 seasons and then it got canceled. So I'm not surprised.
I don't think they quite completed the fact that he was not originally from there.
Bummer. You hate to see it. Okay. So Here's the two that I have actually engaged with, and I will admit, didn't fully comprehend that Theseus was there until I was looking at Theseus stuff. But that's because I wasn't interrogating these pieces through the mythology lens at the time of when I was doing it. First, Theseus is a figure in the Canterbury Tales.
Canterbury Tales?
DJ, do you know what?
Canterbury.
Oh, you said you know Canterbury. Did I say it wrong?
No, you just said it American.
Really. I just said it American. Yes, that is me. The Canterbury Tales.
Canterbury Tales.
Yeah, I'll just forget the T in the middle. It's what we do. So this is DJ. Oh, and you're British. Do you want to tell DJ what the Canterbury Tales are?
Just because I know what the place is.
Okay, you're right. So let the one with the English degree talk about it. So the Canterbury Tales are by Geoffrey Chaucer. They're considered a really important, like, influential piece of, like, English, like, as we're shifting into this kind of, like, era of English writing and culture stuff. It's unfinished because Chaucer died. But the premise is you have these group of people from different, like, backgrounds, socioeconomic, lifestyles, things like that, and they are making the pilgrimage to Canterbury. And as they're going in, they decide to pass the time where each one of them is going to tell a story. And by the end, they'll decide who wins, who had the best story, whatever. And it's like each little, like, basically a vignette with some sort of, like, not necessarily like lessons or stuff. Chaucer was doing a thing. It was kind of, you would call it experimental almost. Usually, if you're studying this, your professor will inevitably make you write your own. Write one for the Canterbury Tales.
What?
Very fun assignment that they make you do. But the Knight's Tale, because there's a knight and he's going to tell what one, and Theseus is in it. This is specifically, it's like focuses on the crimes of Thebes that we talked about. So basically, it reframes ancient Greece and stuff for like this medieval Europe, medieval England. So Theseus is a duke. There's fiefdoms. There's knights and stuff. And early, the framework of the story is basically those who have been slain at Thebes, they're not allowed to be buried, so they go to Theseus. And because he is so, like, just and true, he goes and like we already talked about, forces them to allow the dead to be buried. And then the story shifts where, like, two are captured and they're taken to Athens and they're imprisoned, and you get themes of, like, courtly love and this kind of, like, philosophical questions, things like that. But Theseus is there, and I was like, huh, okay. Because there's another piece from not long after where once again Theseus shows up. And it's Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which
you might forget, or you might not be aware. It's A Midsummer Night's Dream is kind of supposed to be set in ancient Greece.
That it is.
Essentially.
But it never is. It's never set there.
They never do. But it kind of is supposed to be when Shakespeare wrote the damned thing. Because Theseus is there, and the framework for the story is that it is setting up for Theseus's marriage to Hippolyta, who he did kidnap and is, like, basically taken as a prize.
Yes.
But he's there and he's representing,
as you do.
you know. He's representing, like, you know, kind of this this patriarchal figure, this, like, father figure, things like that. Now, he doesn't really do anything that helps resolve anything that has happened, or, like, the lovers' quarrels or all this stuff. It all kind of resolves itself. But Theseus does kind of take credit for it. But both these, I don't have the exact years. They were written, I'm not saying they were written close, but in the spectrum of when things were written, roughly around the same eras, right?
Yeah.
But mentioning Theseus in both these really influential works by these, like, authors, it indicates how well-known Theseus was as a figure. Because neither of these stories mention the Minotaur. They're not talking about what we know him best now, right? The Minotaur, the Labyrinth, like, those aren't elements of it. There are other elements of Theseus, and they aren't really giving so much explanation about it, but they're using Theseus, who is this well-known, like, creator of, like, Athenian culture, this figure, this amazing king, right? Heroic and noble, wise, for these characters to be a stand-in of, like, what the story is about. And the audience of the time would recognize Theseus, and this is what this figure is supposed to represent in the setting of this story. And when we branch from that, like, that is supposed to tell you something about what you are watching. And that's so very different from when you see Theseus now and what we would know about Theseus being the Labyrinth thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's just an interesting indication of like how this character even if you know, so like I think most audiences maybe don't necessarily know who Theseus is at a name
Yeah.
drop, not like a Hercules, right?
No. I mean, Hercules is partly due to, well, Disney nowadays.
Disney, but like there are even before, like, yeah, we know it, like Disney being like this generation, like us, that was our first big introduction to it. But like Hercules got used so many times in pop culture, and Theseus hasn't, not in this age of visual media, of movies and TV shows and stuff. But Owen's got something.
Yeah, so have you heard of the Dream SMP?
Oh, God.
I haven't. I get the vibe that DJ knows what we're doing here.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, but I fucking heard of the thing.
Yeah,
I know
see,
nothing about it. I just know that the fandom is like upwards
Wild.
of Homestuck level, you know?
Oh no! Owen? What are you doing? Where are you bringing us? Owen, you're driving the car, and I'm trusting you. Don't make me tuck and roll out of this car.
As you should. No, so... So, just for Darian and anyone that doesn't know what it is, just a quick summary. It's a role-playing server in Minecraft.
Okay.
Most basic level. It kind of happened by accident. It's why Minecraft is currently big again in like the video game sphere and YouTube sphere.
I wouldn't say it's why it's big again. Minecraft never really dropped off.
Yeah, but it
just gave it a
it's got,
surge
like-
in popularity, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
say that it's why it's big.
DJ, is this the premise of those fanfics I saw when we did our fanfic episode
Yes.
where I kept...
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Now I know what we're doing here. Okay, continue, Owen. What does Theseus have to do with this?
So one of the storylines, or one of the characters / streamers, Techno, always used to refer to Tommy a lot and call him Theseus. There's one relatively famous line where he goes, "Welcome home, Theseus." That was a terrible Techno impression. Please do not hurt me.
Very disrespectful to the late Techno. How dare you?
I know.
What? Wait, what? Holy shit. Wait, what?
Yeah. He passed due to an illness sometime this year.
Yeah,
Oh.
cancer.
I saw a lot of art about that. Okay, there's context now.
Yes.
Okay, that's sad.
Yeah,
Okay, so that
Yeah.
was a thing.
That was a thing. But, so there was a lot of references to that, and
Why?
I think Techno was the only one that saw it. Like, it was kind of accidental. So I think at the time it was all about Tommy's exile arc. So he was fighting to be the hero and failing quite badly. Because he's never really the hero. He's a bit self-centered, actually, as a character.
Okay.
Yeah, so I never quite worked it out, and I was trying while you were reading like all the different myths, going, which part of it could it be?
What makes him Theseus?
What makes him Theseus? I think it's like the whole almost you have to compare loads of others to loads of other people as well, I think. But it's the coming home a hero after being like after like getting pushed out as the villain. But I think that's kind of what it was. But yeah, it's the only thing I have.
No, it makes sense because it does. I mean, there are like 3 separate occasions where Theseus comes home to Athens. Like the first one where he's like, coming for the first time, going to deal with the Minotaur and coming back. And then after the whole trying to kidnap Persephone thing.
Yeah.
The Hercules bringing it back. So yeah. So he has a couple big homecomings. That is really interesting. Thank you for sharing, Owen.
Nice. Yeah, the only one I got. Actually, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I got one, and I just looked one up, and I thought it was goofy as hell because I just searched up a list of him in pop culture. Right? Me and you share this one, Darren. Theseus in Hades. Were you not going to bring him up?
He's not in Hades. Oh shit, he is in Hades.
Theseus in the Minotaur. What the fuck, Darian?
I don't know. Davis, when I had COVID, I played Hades for 16 hours. Okay?
I cannot believe
I have a little bit put it in a box.
Hades.
Oh, I hate him. He's so annoying. I'm back on it. It's the most accurate representation of Theseus. This guy's the
100%.
fucking worst. He's so full
great.
of
I love him.
himself. Ugh.
And then he's portrayed by Tom Hardy in the 2006 movie Minotaur.
I want to go back to talking about Hades. Owen, have you played Hades?
I have not played Hades.
It's wonderful.
Owen.
You should definitely check it out.
Do you like video games, Owen?
I enjoy them,
Do you
but I'm
enjoy
much more.
playing
I'm a
video
very,
game?
I'm a very casual gamer.
Me too. I literally only play like Animal Crossing, Hades, and Kingdom Hearts. That's what I play.
Yeah.
So
I'm still shocked about Hades.
I know it doesn't sound like a game I should like at all, but it is actually my favorite game of all time. I love it so much. Okay, hold on. Are you aware of Theseus in Hades? Like, are you familiar with this?
I've watched some stuff with someone playing Hades, but I can't remember.
Oh my god, we get to tell you
Put
about
it
Okay,
up,
it's so great. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot. Davis, thank you.
No
All right,
problem.
so part of the thing, you are Zagreus. You are trying to escape the underworld. Don't worry about it. But the thing you do is after you get through you're going from Tartarus to the fields of Asphodel to Elysium. And each of the 3 levels at the end has the big boss fight. And the big boss fight of Elysium is you enter the arena and you fight the champions. Theseus and Atreus, the Minotaur, who in the afterlife have become brothers in arms, BFS. They owe each other everything. And you have to fight them together. And it is such a pain, but it's legitimately really fun. And Theseus is able to, you Zagreus can interact with the gods and get boons and powers from them. And Theseus can do that too. He's the only other one that can do that. So all of a sudden you're dealing with a character who can throw the same godly powers at you that you've been throwing at everyone else. But he and the Minotaur, as you interact, they have you learn more about their stories. You see more of their history together, how they found each other in the afterlife. And the Minotaur is so grateful to Theseus, right? For essentially giving him another opportunity. Because the Minotaur in the afterlife is in Elysium and viewed as a champion and a hero. And they view Zagreus as a fiend and a monster who is going against the natural order and must be destroyed. Now, Theseus talks a lot, and he's very full of himself. He's basically shining, glittery golden boy. So he's very annoying. You like Atreus more. But they love each other so much. When you slay... and you will slay one of them before the other because you're not going to kill them both. And the other one is so devastated every time you kill the other one first. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you get the sense, reading Theseus's backstory, when you, fight them enough, you unlock it in the journal, and you get, he saw something in the Minotaur that was, he saw something familiar in the Minotaur that was in himself, right? And sought him out in the afterlife to make amends for how things went down. So, once again, even Hades is using Theseus and the Minotaur, that is Theseus's main story there. Wild that Hades is letting Theseus be the champion. Well, with the whole trying to kidnap Persephone thing, but
yeah, well, that is the champion of Elysium, which is Persephone's whole ordeal, and Persephone was like, yeah,
whatever.
I get it. I'm pretty. It happens.
If he's with the Minotaur, yeah. So, shit, I forgot. So here's what I was talking about. How with the Knights, the Canterbury Tales and Midsummer Night's Dream, you have Theseus appearing, and that iconography and what that represents is so different than when you see a Theseus now and what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's the way we do it now is bad or lesser than. I just think it's fascinating, the shift, and why we decided that this is the part of the story we like the best and we find the most interesting. I think Hades uses it very well with the interrogation of Theseus and the Minotaur and their connection.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any thoughts? I feel like I've been talking a lot.
No,
we cut out a lot of the heroes' overall stories now, though, don't we? We always Jason.
When we talk about Hercules, we mainly focus on his 12 labors. Jason is the Argonauts, or the gold. I guess the Golden Fleece falls under Argonauts.
Specifically, it's just the fleece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Odysseus is the journey back, nothing else. Just the journey back.
Journey there. Achilles is specifically the Battle of Troy.
Yeah. Why do you think we do that? Is it just because the medium
maybe I think maybe it's
medium?
because these stories stick out more, and I don't know why they would.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what people were thinking 300-400 years ago when these stories started to gain a little more popularity. And just these are the ones that they chose, that these are what stick out, right? Plenty of reasons why.
I think the others might be a bit more.
You go ahead.
Sorry. The others might be a bit more effectively day-to-day life. These are the adventures.
Yeah.
The rest of it is kind of just stuff.
Yeah, I was going to bring up, like, there's a reason why Marvel chose to do the Infinity Saga rather than anything else first, right? Because it's just a decent story, and now they're doing the multiverse thing. So it's
true. But I think mentioning movies is a good thing, because I think the primary way most of us experience these stories now isn't hearing them orally and hearing them every night around a fire and getting more and more of a story, or having the opportunity to sit down and read these long, sprawling tales. They are having movies or watching episodes where there is a specific amount of time that the medium has to relay this character to you and to get you to care and to tell this story. And it would be hard to get you to care about do a Theseus in all of the time. So let's boil it down. And I think those things, I think, DJ, as you said, like the things that they're initially picked to boil down, that's what audiences are familiar with now. So that's what's going to get told again and again. Because if you want the audience to recognize, let's use what they already know.
To get one where the audience was getting tired of it, there's a reason we didn't see Peter Parker's origin story in the MCU when we did 2 times before. We had seen it in every single animated series and every single movie adaptation. So we don't need to see it again. Everybody and their fucking mother knows who the hell Peter Parker is and how he got his powers. Everybody knows for a fact.
We don't need to see Uncle Ben die again.
Yeah, we just don't need
It gets to be Aunt May this time, I guess.
Yeah, it was strange. Very strange.
No, I loved it. I thought that made a lot of sense.
No, I loved it. I think it was great, but it's still like, did Uncle Ben just not say anything?
MCU Peter still had an origin story. It just happened 3 films later.
Yeah, basically. No, and that was what made it. I can't talk about No Way Home right now. We can't do that right now. It's too much. I think that I made my point about Theseus. I'll just repeat myself, but it's like that's such an because I was legitimately like, oh yes, I know a lot of mythology, Theseus, and I'm like, oh no, I think Theseus is kind of cool. Fuck.
As a hero, really cool person. As a person,
here's my hot take. I think Theseus is more interesting than Hercules and deserved to have way more media and should be more well-known across the spectrum. Like, there should be more Theseus stuff. That's my thing. That's all I have for you today. But I think I like Theseus better than Hercules, just as not even as like, a character, but as a story, I just think Theseus is a little bit more interesting. I don't know.
I get that.
Yeah, just he has one really cool story and a load of just meh cool stories.
I don't know. I think like him, like dealing with the Thebes stuff, dealing with like helping Hercules.
Yeah, but that's all politics. Who cares about politics? Give me the action.
I care about politics. I liked the prequels more than like any other fucking movie. I cared about the politics. I care about politics. Damn it!
Do you really like the prequels more than?
I love the prequels. I do.
Didn't know
I think
this
they're
about
fun.
you. We've lived, DJ. You're my brother. We've lived together as adults for almost 7 months now. I had no.
Fun.
idea.
I love them. The effects are cool. The characters are cool. I like it.
Animated
I like the
stuff
world
is
building.
better than anything else.
Oh no! Yes, the Clone Wars is the superior thing.
Fucking
animated show, not the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that wasn't about Theseus is all. All right, anybody else have thoughts on any pop culture Theseus stuff? Any heroes? Anything you want to talk about before we get out of this episode?
I got nothing.
We are out of information.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, Owen.
Theseus is just not featured in pop culture. Like, I don't know.
Owen, thank you so much for joining us. Where can our listeners find you on the internet?
Through the Mist. That's the show. That's the podcast. It's on your podcasting places. You know, if you're listening to this one, you're on one.
Podcast.
Yep. There'll be a direct link in the show notes.
Click it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want the social media side of it, at @through_mist, but only on Instagram.
Only on Instagram.
Because I don't want to do anything else.
That's fair. That's really us at this point.
Fair.
Yep. You should follow Owen. He's very active and posts a lot of really fun questions to answer and engage with. So yeah, check that out. Go listen. Go this stuff. I've been on the episode. Owen, when are you going to have DJ to talk about the true purpose, the true dark purpose of Camp Half-Blood?
I
My fucking like 20-second, like you want a whole ass episode on my 20-second take on Camp Half-Blood, Darian?
Owen can do it. Owen can do it. I have you don't listen
Oh
to
no,
me
we
in
can.
a podcast.
We could do a whole podcast on your dark take of Camp Half-Blood. Easy.
Easy. Don't worry about it.
Easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Owen, for joining us. Thank you all so much for. Before we actually get out, this episode is coming out top of December, which means we are a couple of weeks away from the winter solstice. On that day, Wednesday, December 21st. A lot of the Percy Jackson podcasters in our community are getting together to do a live stream. Owen, will you be joining us that night?
I'm going to attempt to. Yes.
Yes. I'll be there. Last year we did this, and it was the first Percy Jackson movie. This year it's Thor: Love and Thunder, right?
Yeah.
So
Wild
excited.
choice, but I suppose.
I'm so excited to talk about how much I love Jane Foster. I'm so excited.
Hey, it's still myth related. We got this.
Yes, there's a lot of cool myth stuff in there, like a lot of cool lore. I'm into it. Yes, so that's going to be happening Wednesday, as I said, Wednesday, winter solstice, December 21st. Link in the show notes, I'm pretty sure. We'll mention it again a couple of times. All of the Percy Jackson podcasters in our community are trying to be a part of this. So there will be lots of opportunities for you to find the link of where it's going to be at to hang out with us that evening and check it out.
Should we? We are doing a 12-part series.
12-part daily series.
12-part daily series starting on the December 13th and going all the way to Christmas Eve. And the main feed will absolutely get the first episode of us talking about A Christmas Carol. And if you'd like to hear more
Charles Dickinson's
the
A Christmas
classic,
Carol,
the classic,
story.
The story that started it all. And let me tell you, there is no adaptation
the story that started
does
Christmas.
it justice. Yes. And we will be talking about the Charles Dickens story on the 13th, and all of you guys will be able to listen to it. If you would like to hear more and us talking about the adaptations, those will be in our Patreon, and we will be posting one every day. From the Muppets to the 1970s musical.
I thought we were going to tell them what we're doing. I thought it was a surprise.
I'm just fucking throwing it all out.
You feed some of them. You feed some of them.
Yeah, you gotta trick with some of them. The big Muppets there. Really, Darren? You think
the Muppets
you really
reveal?
Think the Muppets is the one that's the reveal? Like, look, it's just like obviously we're going to be talking about the Muppets. If they're going to our Patreon, they're going to see Haunted Mansion with the Muppets in it. And just so you guys know, this will be available to all tiers. Like, if you want to join just for the month of December, it's $1. You will get all of it, and everybody's going to get it.
Yep. It's just our way of saying thank you for everyone who listens, our patrons who support us, and then the one on the main feed, just an extra episode this month to say thank you to all of our listeners who helped make this year better than it had any right to be for me, honestly. Fun. Legitimately made this year fun, and we appreciate it so much. We appreciate our guests like Owen and all of our friends for being on and talking to us and hanging out with us. It's a good damn time, and we've got
damn time.
And that's gonna be it for us today. Owen, thank you again for hanging out with us, listeners. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back in your ears on Tuesday, December 20th to talk about Hera.
What are you talking about, Darian? A week before that, December 13th, with the Charles Dickens Christmas Carol.
Our main episode, regular episode, will be we'll be back in your ears Tuesday, December 13th. And then after that, if you're like, I'm not interested, regular mythology episode, Tuesday, December 20th, talking about Hera. And until then, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Jupiter.
What?
Muses of Mythology is created and hosted by Darren and DJ Smart. It's edited by Darren Smart. The show is produced by Darren and DJ Smart, as well as
Tim O'Connor.
The Crystal Con Man.
Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain. And our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at bombshellnutshellart.
Want more Muses of Mythology? Support the show on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Get more at patreon.com/Muses of Mythology.
You can also support the show by leaving a review at lovethepodcast.com/Muses of Mythology. Or tell a friend why you love the show.
Don't forget to check out all of our episodes and episode transcripts at musesofmythology.com.
Thanks for listening.